Hey, hello, I am Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity. And today we are talking about how to change the story that you've been telling yourself and why you want to. It's no secret that our personal narratives profoundly impact our lives. The stories that we tell ourselves, whether aware of them or not, dictate how we see the world and our place in it. And if they're filled with self-doubt and negative beliefs, it can be challenging to achieve the sort of success and fulfillment that we desire. On the other hand, if we tell more empowering stories that inspire us to reach our full potential, then we open ourselves up to new possibilities and greater success. And bonus, we can also inspire others along the way. So how do you tell a different story about yourself to move forward? Here are 3 tips for doing just that. Tip number 1, be aware of the stories you're telling yourself. Awareness is the first step to any change. If you find that your narrative is filled with self-doubt and negative beliefs, it's time to take a step back and reassess. What are the stories you're telling about yourself and your potential, your abilities? Are these stories helpful or harmful? If they're harmful, it's time to start changing them, interrupting that pattern. But you can't change anything unless you're aware of what needs to change first. So pay attention to the stories that start chirping in your mind. Now, this takes a bit of work because these stories and patterns, we've been running them for years, probably ever since we were a little kid. So for example, if you're struggling with getting ahead at work, ask yourself, what is getting in the way of that most? Fear is an answer that I hear a lot from my audiences. So maybe you discover that it's fear of putting yourself out there. Maybe it might be a story in your unconscious where you asked for something that you wanted and you were told no. So you don't think you're going to get it now. So maybe it was a toy when you were 5 years old, or it was a promotion when you were 30. When you were told no, maybe you started telling yourself the story that there's something wrong with you or that you're not good enough to get what you want. The problem is telling that story becomes a pattern and it runs automatically. It reinforces itself and it's being told to you daily through your unconscious beliefs. If it isn't supporting you, it needs to change. So step number 2, develop new, more empowering stories. Okay. So once you're aware of the harmful stories that you've been telling yourself, it's time to start developing new ones. So these stories should be more empowering, they should be more positive, and they should help you see yourself in a new light. So by telling yourself new stories, you can open yourself up to greater potential and success on your terms. Now, let me be clear, this doesn't mean that you completely erase your past or pretend it never happened. Instead, it means that acknowledge what happened and then reframe it in a more positive light. So for example, one of my coaching clients was overlooked for a promotion. It was crushing because she really felt she was capable of more. And soon the stories of I'm not good enough started playing in her head. However, what we uncovered in one of the sessions was that it wasn't about her. The company was actually dealing with irregularities and it was going to be sold, but no one knew at the time. And the news didn't come out until after she had been told no for the promotion. So she believed she wasn't good enough instead of really making the story about the company. So the stories that we tell ourselves should be empowering, not disempowering. If it's no longer serving you, it's time for a change. Believe in a new story. Keep repeating it to yourself until it sticks. And remember, these stories are the patterns that have been running for years. So it's going to take a little repetition and practice to get to change them. Third, let's practice telling your new story. Telling a new story can be difficult at first, especially if you've been telling yourself the same old story for years. But with practice, it will get easier and eventually it will become a tool for your success. So for example, I share on the stage to my audiences a story about how I hit the wall in my corporate career. I feel share the mess of being stressed and how this stress affected my body physically. I shared that I didn't know what my next level was or how to get there. So I just focused on being perfect. Hello, any more stress? I also shared how I was the one who was the most in my own way because of the stories I was holding on to. It was a dark time, but what happened after is important too. I was sabotaging myself. I was telling myself lies, but I discovered my way forward. So telling your story can be a powerful way to connect with others and to inspire them to reach their own potential. So when you share your story, focus on all aspects, the mess and the success, and most importantly, how it helped you to become who you are today. Telling a different story is one of the most powerful things that we can do to support ourselves and to create more success. So shift your story and step towards your full potential, then share it. You know, when we share our stories, we share with the world what we're capable of, and we inspire others to follow and tap into their potential too. So until the next time, here is wishing you all the clarity that you deserve. Oh, and a new story too. Bye-bye for now. Take care.